El Deafo invites us to explore the world of Cece as she grows up hearing impaired after meningitis left her severely to profoundly deaf at the age of 4. It's a funny, unsentimental tale that follows Cece from age 4 through elementary school as she transforms from mild-mannered little girl into fully fledged superhero El Deafo. Some of Cece's experiences are unique to a person who cannot hear, being fitted for hearing aids, learning to lip read, and getting a stronger phonic ear device for use at school. Other experiences are recognisable to most of us: finding new friends, moving to a new school, going to sleepovers, and having a first crush. Using the graphic novel medium, Cece was able to convey to the audience a visual way to show all the ways a hard of hearing or person who is deaf might be or might be not hearing. Cece did this via the use of speech bubbles. When Cece was wearing her hearing aids and she is looking right at the speaker, she can understand every word the other character is saying because she has some sound coming in and the visual clues from their lips. At times within the book, the speech bubbles are left empty. This was to demonstrate that Cece did not have her hearing aids in or wasn't looking at the character talking. Other times, the speech bubbles were all muddled. This demonstrated that Cece could hear due to her hearing aids, but was not looking at the character. Therefore, she was not able to lip read, and it all seemed like a jumble. This got me thinking about the hearing impaired community, especially today as the Victorian Premier announces the mandatory use of masks again within the community in which I live. I feel it is important to consider some of the unintended consequences to the hearing impaired community. As demonstrated in El Deafo, wearing a face mask may impair the ability for some people to communicate with ease because it prevents lip reading and it can reduce the level of speech transmitted from the mouth. At the very least, removing visual cues can make communication more taxing because of the mental exertion required to listen. Thyler and colleagues found hearing impairment led to communication difficulties between family members and friends. It is associated with negative factors such as poor social interactions, isolation, depression, and anxiety. In fact, there are probably many people with hearing loss who were able to manage but would now struggle with the widespread use of masks. The message that volume does not equal better hearing was strong in this book through Cece's interaction with her friend Ginny. Cawthorne's 2001 study found that some teachers assumed that by talking louder, talking slower, or talking more pronounced would help their hearing impaired students. However, the opposite often occurs, making it so much more difficult for those like Cece who rely on lip reading to understand. The book also explored Cece's feelings in her home environment, where I felt it was portrayed that being deaf was more of a disability. Chapter 9 is of interest for me when Cece resisted learning sign language, much to her mother's disappointment. At this time, Cece was entering grade 4. Belugi and Kilmer found that deaf children who learn to sign language from a young age also go through the same stages of language acquisition as hearing children. This may be why Cece's mum felt it important to take her daughter to sign language lessons. According to Cece Bell's current blog, not learning sign language is one of the biggest regrets she now has. Although Cece was not fond of the phonic ear initially, she began to see its value when she discovered that she could not only hear when the teachers were in the classroom, but she could hear wherever they were in the whole building. This made Cece feel like she had superpowers and allowed her to feel included amongst her peers. Waters and Knorr's 2008 study discovered that although no differences are found in peer acceptance between deaf and hearing children often differ on some dimensions of social competence. The children who are deaf score lower than their hearing peers on prosocial behaviour and higher on socially withdrawn behaviour. Through discovering her superpower, Cece was able to gain confidence to interact with her peers and feel more included within the educational setting. As someone who has not had a lot of exposure to individuals who are deaf, this book is informative and shows, quoting Cece Bell, "There are lots of different ways to be deaf and there is no right or wrong way."